Thank you for tuning in. Be back. Look, just wanted to highlight the business owners. And if you are looking to become a business owner, this is for you too, right? Because the title of this one is If Your Logo Could Speak, right? If your logo could speak. Man, so many, so many, so many opportunities for businesses to connect, right, with clients, customers, maintain their relevancy, grow their awareness, right, their brand awareness. So I think this is a timely situation because I know some people out there that don't get it are like, Pasha, you're up here talking about government and this and that and United States and America and da da da. And well, that's also exactly why I like to embed the precision of success in logo designs for clients in my community. Now, what do you mean by your community? First of all, this is things you need to think about as a business owner. Is your community the people within a 5 or 10 block radius? Is that your city? What's your community that you're looking for? My community happens to be a particular state of mind. So that's global, right? So when you're looking for a particular mentality, you have to approach that differently than you're looking to attract people within walking distance of your brick and mortar. Contact me. Let's get some consultation going. I can help you understand. So when it comes down to a logo, right, you got to ask yourself, does your logo truly represent what your brand stands for? Or do you think it does? Which could be part of the problem. See, a lot of businesses don't get it that you might be doing numbers. You might feel like you're doing numbers. You might be doing more numbers than you ever did, period. The reality is, what you're doing right now might only be 36% of what you could actually be doing. See, but you don't know what your true entitlement is. That's where critical solutions expert Pasha Paroh helps out. So many people that I work with, by the end of our time, they're like, I didn't even know I could be doing A, B, C, and D. But this is the information I give them. It's part of the service. It's because I'm looking to build sustainable communities. That's why this is important. That's why I work with so many different types of people all over the world. Because again, it's a mindset, and we need to grow that stability in the community so that the community can be sustainable around it. So I invest in others to do such, right? So you need to know if your logo is truly representing what your business does, or are you not sure? Because a lot of you guys are great people, great business owners, despite the fact that we may not click because I'm American mentality and you might be a United States citizen mentality, and you don't take the time to learn the difference to understand that I probably want the same thing you think you want, but I just don't stop at what they say we should or shouldn't have for ourselves, right? Okay. But other than that, it's part of why I'm doing this for you all, because they said society and the economy is supposed to collapse. And they're working behind the scenes, bringing down the value of the dollar and all this other stuff they're doing, making your home values appear to go up so that you can feel like you're making a profit, only so that then they can crash the housing bubble, and then you be stuck with a loan that's 4 times worth the value of your home, and you be trapped in that position, right? But if we empower our communities to be sustainable, independent, and work among themselves, well, we're starting to cut out the middleman that's causing all the issues here, and we can grow and become much better as a society together. So what happens is a lot of times is people don't connect the logo to the brand. They're too busy saying, it's the thing with emotions, right? It's a double-edged sword. Of course, we want to use the psychology to embed the psychology in the brand to build the bond. But what happens when it's not done properly is it actually becomes a repellent. Like, people will be like, I got this logo that I like, but when you look at it, its form and function isn't value added. And they're wondering why the brand is suffering. They're wondering why they're not getting clients. It's because it could be as simple as when they look at your brand, they're talking to you in a meeting and they see you, right? And when they look at your brand, it doesn't match. Like if you a grumpy person, naturally, if that's you, don't make a brand with flowers and butterflies in the logo, right? Because when they talk to you, they're gonna feel like something's wrong because the energy isn't matching. And even though you might be the best at what you do, they're gonna feel like they can't trust you because they don't know what it is, but there's something. But what it really is that your logo is off. It literally could be that simple. Here was an example of before and after, right? Before, they were emotionally attached to this. Like, yeah, my love, I got business cards, I got this, going and okay. But you need to be pow, pow, pow with your presentation I come from the music, the nightclub scene, the world. I know the energy, right? This is forgettable. The bottom one is gonna do it for you. Without going, here's another one. People say this all the time. I have a logo. Or they may feel like they don't need a logo until they see what I do for them. It's night and day, right? It's night and day, right? So, does your logo set you apart, or does it set you aside? Because 80% of purchasing decisions are based on emotional factors rather than rational thinking. 80%. So I hear it all the time. I see people get a design from somewhere and they thinking about it and they're like, well, this is what everybody else is doing. It's just like music. If you come in the game doing what everybody else is doing, you now basically put yourself in competition with 1 million other people. Maybe even 10 million, maybe even 40 million other people. If you come in and be yourself, when people are looking through the blah, 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 same. Wow, what the fuck is that? It's a right? But I'm able to do this because I had 3 decades of experience in being like, yeah, I don't care what everybody else is doing. This is what you know. You don't become known for saying you're American, not a United States citizen, and in a business networking group without the confidence of knowing how to knowing how to accept that you're you're different. Here's the before. If you saw this on the table, you would not remember this. This resonates. Right? So 80% of purchasing decisions are based on emotional factors rather than rational thinking. All right? So do you have confidence in your logo is the next question. Because you got the people, I got a logo. Well, I know you don't have confidence in your logo, despite what you're saying, because the last 43 pieces of documentation that you put out regarding your business, regarding a service, regarding what's going on with your company, your brand, or whatever you post on Facebook, the last 43 pieces of content you did, it didn't have your logo on it. I got a logo. Where? Because 75% of people can recall a brand based solely on its logo. So if you put content out and you're not in some way making sure your brand is present, you're missing the opportunity to connect with those 75% of people because you're not doing it right. It's that simple. Let me show you how to do it. Right? So if you have doubts or you hesitant in showing your logo, it's probably a good sign that you need a new one. Hit me up. In most cases, right? Remember, another funny thing is like what people don't realize is where the world is going, right? They don't realize where the world is going, where it is actually. And they're still doing things based on what was popular when newspaper was the internet, right? Because back then it made sense to have logos and branding and marketing be a certain way, right? Because they had to print the advertisements. They had to print the advertisements in the newspaper. So they were able to save printing costs when they did it a certain style of way. And then before that, they were chiseling in the side of buildings and everything, right? With hammer and chisel. So now you have the digital space of the internet. So your thing need to pop. a certain way. 65% of consumers are using social media messaging apps for customer service. So if they are online for customer service, where are they even finding you at to begin with? Everybody talking about a website. A website is so overrated. You don't have half the benefit on a website as you do just using social media content alone. Because the only way you capture the good information that you want from people on your website is if they fill out a form. On social media, all they got to do is interact with your content and you get their lifelong profile right there of who they are. But the problem is a lot of people are lazy in the sense of they don't want to put any effort of having to build the relationship. They want people to just pop up and work with them. I like this one. This was the first ones. This was the first one actually that I did that wound up on a vehicle. And I say vehicle because it's a truck, which is a vehicle. It's used for commercial purposes. And here's an example of the tractor trailer that's going down the road, probably right now somewhere, hauling stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I remember when he got this done, he was like, "Man, you did something great because they never seen the vinyl printer company never printed something that looked like this before." So that feedback was great because that means that's a standout. It's not being set aside. When you pull up at the work site, they're like, "Yo, where'd you?" That's memorable. But you gotta know what you're doing to be able to produce stuff like this. You got to know how to articulate to the client that it's not about what you might believe. Let's talk about what we know and what we can prove, right? Let's give you the advantage by being different while still putting you in the ballpark of where you need to be successful. 50% of customers avoid doing business due to unappealing logos. But the problem is a lot of business owners are thinking about what appeals to them, not to the customer. They're not working from the customer's frame of mind. So they're like, "I like this." And then they're wondering why the business is struggling. They're getting the meetings, but they can't convert them into sales. Why? Because there's a disconnect either with who you're attracting or what the right people, when you attract them, feel when you get to have that conversation. They're realizing there's something off. And then that makes you appear to be not trustworthy, but it could be just, again, your brand is repelling them. So go back to that example I gave earlier. If you're grumpy, but you got a flower and butterfly logo, well, they're looking at flowers and butterflies. They're coming with that energy, like boom, 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 boom. And then you're like, "Well, this is what we're going to do for you, motherfucker." And they're like, "Oh, like something just ain't, I don't," right? And that's what it is. Now the whole situation becomes unappealing because the emotions don't match, the vibes don't match, the energy ain't right. When instead we could have just made your logo appeal and work toward your grumpiness, because that's what I do. That's exactly what I do. I'm American. I'm looking for a certain mentality. I'm looking for the people who want to change the world. A lot of people, the helpless mindset, I'm gonna say it like people who appear that they want to be victimized, right? They complain about stuff, but then when you ask them what are they doing about it, nothing, right? Those are the people who want other people to do something for them. Those are the people waiting on the government to fix what they're complaining about the government. Those are the people who are waiting for their job to change how they feel at the end of the day, going home at the workday. That's not gonna probably happen. If we can't boycott, and I'm not saying it necessarily in the sense of your emotional attachment to the word boycott, but the quote is, we can't boycott what we've not built the system to replace. So you can't say we're going to make America better, we're going to make the quality of life in America this, while we're allowing corporate United States to increase productivity by 80%, but your wages are only up 9% in the last 40, 50, 60 years. This is why Pasha took the decades to gain the experience to be able to produce $1 million branding for you for a budget that is realistic to you. I know you can't afford what this is worth. Pepsi paid $1.2 million for their logo. It came with a 27-page design report. The reason I'm going to work with you is, again, because we need to build sustainable communities. It's more important that you are put in the position of success, not so much for what you saved or what I could have made or didn't make, but so that the community is sustainable tomorrow, next week, and when our next generations inherit what we leave behind. See, a lot of people do things for the wrong reason. That's why I'm not connected with them. If your focus is just monetary and you think that you're getting money when there ain't been no money in circulation since the 30s, the 1930s, HJR 182. I know a lot of people don't maybe know what that reference is, but if that's your only focus, I mean, there's so much more to life than that, bro. So much more to life than that. And the danger is that's the distraction that's going to cause our next generations to be enslaved even further than the current one is. Think about it. It takes $100 today, probably even more, to buy what $2 bought you in the 1930s. At the same time, like I just mentioned, productivity is up 80% since the 70s. Since 79, actually. Wages are only up 7 to 9% in the same time period. At that rate, what is it going to be for your grandchildren? They're going to be doing 500% of the productivity and getting, maybe they'll be up to 10% by then. A great example of what I'm talking about here, all in a nutshell, because people are worried about, they want to make the money, they don't really care about you as a person, right? They don't talk to you until you have a reason to give them something. There's a gap between the relationship. I was talking to someone and they were like, yeah, that's the way it is. You hand them, you randomly, I'm gonna put the word randomly in there and just describe it. They say you randomly give someone your business card, and then 2 years later they call you and they need your service, and then you work with them. And I try to illustrate to them, well, one, there's a gap there because the time that passed, the 2 years, was a great opportunity to grow a relationship that could last a lifetime if you like the person. And Y'all could have learned more about each other. There may have been other opportunities for y'all to help each other and or the community. The old mindset is I'm waiting for them to need me for something. So you never even learned that they needed you 18 times in those 2 years, but you didn't know it because you didn't talk to them. Or maybe they could have helped you 4 times in those 10 years, in those 2 years, but you didn't know it because you never talked to them. Right? Like this is how crazy society's gotten. Like they don't like you call someone, hey, they don't want to talk to you. Why? Because it's a domino effect. The reason they don't want to talk to you is not necessarily that you're a bad person. It's they're so desperate for what they feel like is money right now that they don't have time to do anything else but chase. They spending their whole life chasing. That's why if you not moving or they perceive that you're not moving, they feel like you're not doing something right. Oh, you appear to be in the same place that you were 2 years ago. You're a loser. But what they don't realize is that in those 2 years, you got basically 10 years of knowledge. So that now when you get the one opportunity to do what they've been fighting for a decade, you're going to do it in 4 months. Because you slowed down perceivably or perceptionally, right? I know that's not the word. I'm kind of stressing something here. So that you could gain what you needed to do by yourself. That's another thing. A lot of people want to have teams networking and they wonder why stuff not working. You got too many hands in the pot. The business and brand logo is supposed to represent you, right? But if you got people telling you who you are, that don't work, right? That's not true. And this is why these things don't work because. But there's a great story about I want to share that I had an observation in some business networking situations, and it was a logo designer. I mean, I remember this. I'll probably remember this for the rest of my life because it was so like heart like yo for the people that know. This is heartbreaking because this is why our society is at the state that it is right now. This what I'm going to tell you. This example has everything displayed in it, and those are some samples of my work. I pulled up I just threw some samples in a folder of some realistic clients that I've worked for, designed with, and a couple of them were in my haste. A couple of them were the files that don't have any background, so a couple of them didn't show. Whatever, my bad. So anyway, in this example, right, there was a designer, and the celebration, right? The celebration was, hey, we got this logo done for the client for one. They're the one that's supposed to be running the. They're the one that's you know what I mean. They're supposed to be the marketing agency or the designer or whatever, and they're boasting about how they got the logo done. They outsourced it, and they got this logo done for $175. And it was for a client that was running a drug addiction rehab center. Now think about this drug addiction rehab center. All my hustlers out there, they gonna know right away, right? Who the type of people you're dealing with. The logo had super heavy pronounced red was like like the majority of the logo, the focal point. That's the wrong situation. You gonna send them into relapse. The design was illegible. It used a font that you couldn't really read unless you really focused on it. Like I had to really make out and I know fonts. So the fact that it was illegible is gonna cause confusion during a time where a person is looking for stability and clarity in their life. I was trying to communicate with them because this is what I'm saying, people are so worried about making the dollar that they're willing to sacrifice you and the community around you for the perceived profit while we lose the whole world. That person gonna be looking at that person or a person that really needs that service, and they might do great work. Is gonna be looking at that brochure like this, rocking. Around week 2 or through 4 of the program, it's gonna be really hard. They're gonna be sitting there rocking, looking at that flyer, looking at that brochure, looking at that logo. And they're gonna be fighting in their mind to go to the next group meeting or to go back to their drug of choice. And that logo is going to speak to them. If your logo could speak, it is going to speak to them, and it's going to tell them that they belong with the drug. They belong to the drug. Everything about that logo is going to tell them that the drug understands them better than the program. And it broke my. If I was emotional, I would literally. I could tell you it did, even though because I felt it. I just don't have emotional reactions. But that shit broke my heart, because I come from a community like that. And to hear someone say they were designing a website and the client needed a logo, but their budget was whatever, they outsourced the project and got this bullshit done for $175 instead of just saying to the client, well, look, because this is reality. This is what happens. My words to the client would have been like, look, well then, if we got to make a choice on what's best for you to do right now, we need to not do the website, and we need to get you the proper logo design. But no. We're going to sacrifice the whole everything because I still want to be greedy and feel like I did everything you needed while trying to turn a profit. And what's going to happen in success of that is they're not going to go to that next group meeting. A percentage of them are going to return to their drug of choice that otherwise wouldn't, because they would have felt like they were in the right program. They're going to relapse. And then a small percentage of them are going to either commit suicide and or be dead down the road because someone was concerned with saving $1 on a logo and couldn't tell the client what was best because they didn't even know what was best, because they didn't care about what was best. They didn't care about you as a business owner. They didn't care about the community you serve, and they don't care about the people that get hurt because they made a profit. Because they made a fucking profit. So yeah, Pasha Paroh is different. He gonna sound different. He gonna look different. But you know what? He gonna give you love. Because the etymology of the word love is different grade. The reason why people want to keep me out of sight, keep me out the way, is because they can't do what I do. All they can do is fool you into thinking that you got what you need, because they after profit. I'm after a sustainable community. I'm after the future of our generations to be sustainable, to be independent, to be free. That requires an investment, a mutual investment. I'm gonna need a little bit from you, and you're gonna get some from me. Now, the average range for a refresh is $5,000 to $20,000, depending on who you're talking to, what you're looking at for your brand or business. You can't tell anybody that I've done business for that I charged them $5,000 yet or $20,000 yet. So, what I need you all to do is go ahead and get in my inbox, put my email on the screen. I need you to take a look at your logo. I need you to take a look at your sales numbers, your client connections, and I need you to know we can improve that shit, all right? And I don't want to hear about what you think professional is. I'm gonna give you $1 million design, but I'm gonna be me, right? Because when you look at the etymology of the word profession, the etymology, what it really means a religious cult, okay? Oh, you talk to me, I need you to be professional. That's a religious cult. Okay? I'm trying to get you somewhere and be successful. The same psychology of why I'm gonna be able to do that for you is the same psychology of why I don't care about certain things, because they're irrelevant. When you look at titles, right? A title is really only given for some form of ownership, whether you're in a relationship or you think you got a job. Because a title, that's why you get a title. Actually, you don't get your real title, you get a certificate of title. Most of you, majority of you, if you look, you only have a certificate of title. That means it's not the real title, but that's another conversation. You don't need to go into that here. But what I'm getting at is you get a title to show ownership. Because with ownership, you can apply rules and regulations, right? A title is really only good when it's applied to a human being, a person in possession. It's possession. Ownership is possession. Now, what is possession when you're talking about a person? Well, you either got slavery or you got spiritual possession. You're possessed by the demon, or this is how they say it. And nobody ever says you're possessed by an angel. They'll tell you quick, you're possessed by a demon, right? So you got possession and you got slavery. When you're talking about owner, when you talk about, you got like spiritual possession, like right? Invoking and evoking. This is why they call a job or a title an occupation. What's occupying you? Oh, the spirit of whatever job you're doing. We need you to be a certain level of professionalism, right? The religious cult, because you need to be possessed by the spirit of being you fill in the blank. And because you are a you fill in the blank title, we need you to actually be professional, which is the religious cult that matches that. Remember, we were talking about the branding element? You see how this all works when you know what you're talking about, instead of having emotional attachments to beliefs? The same way I would sit up here telling you, if you're grumpy naturally and your logo and branding is all butterflies and flowers, they're going to feel a disconnect. It's the same way they're telling you the word, they want you to be professional because your title of occupation is this. You're spiritual invoking. We're paying you to be possessed by the spirit of customer service, of Christmas past. And you don't look at it like that. This is why people around you sometimes, or around people, or maybe you've been a person around somebody and you're like, yo, when they around a girl or when they around a dude, they don't even be the same person. They don't act the same. Or they be talking about, I'm at work. What are you doing? What are you doing? And they're a different person when they're at work. Why? Because possession. See, I've been around craft my whole life. Okay? I recognize craft when I see craft. The title is magic, it spells, it's craft, right? So what I'm saying to you is, I'm the way I am because what you need from me, I had to be extraordinarily good at the comprehension and interpretation of certain things that the average person don't even pay no attention to. So when you see me up here sitting here with a magical jacket on, nah, but when you see me and you hear me, sometimes the things you hate about me are exactly what you need. But I'm really looking for the people who don't hate on me because of their ignorance. I'm looking for the people that appreciates that they don't know what they don't know. Because they're going to be the ones that can go into the community and actually make a difference instead of sustaining the oppression, instead of wanting to fit in and tell someone how to be what we need less of and encourage the community to be what we need more of, which is sustainability, which means there needs to be a change. Let's get you right. I'm Pasha Paroh. Thank you for tuning.